Good morning, everyone. We are continuing here in the words of the CHOFETZ CHAIM, and he says like this today: There's another prohibition that a person who speaks lashon hara transgresses, and that is, in front of a blind man, do not put a stumbling block. That doesn't mean that you put a hurdle or a rock in front of a person who cannot see literally that they are blind. Rather, it means that someone who is blinded in areas of halacha, blinded in areas of Torah, blinded in areas of what is right and what is wrong, if you put a michshel, you put a stumbling block, which means they're going to stumble into the sin, this is also another prohibition that one transgresses. Because when you speak lashon hara, you are causing your people that are listening to you, to the words of lashon hara, they're stumbling over all of the other prohibitions that we spoke about already. However, there's a difference in this particular prohibition between the one who's telling over the lashon hara and the one that is being makabel, that is accepting and hearing the lashon hara. The person who's telling over the lashon hara, he transgresses putting a stumbling block in front of his friend, whether there's a lot of people listening or there's only a few people listening. And the truth of the matter is, the more listeners that there are, this prohibition gets greater as well. Because it's like putting a stumbling block in front of each and every person who's listening to your words of lashon hara. So it's not just the words of lashon hara themselves that you are saying, it's putting, if there's 10 people there, it's putting 10 stumbling blocks. Imagine, Rahman al-Litzlan, a person sends out lashon hara on a chat, on a WhatsApp chat, on an email, somewhere in social media. And let's say that there are 100 people, 200 people. Let's say that you're popular and you have a lot of quote-unquote friends on your Facebook page, and 1,000 people end up reading your words of lashon hara. You just set out 1,000 stumbling blocks in front of these people, and you got 1,000 prohibitions that you transgressed, Rahmana Litzlan. Loichein ha-makabel, but it's not the same with the makabel, the one who's listening to the words of lashon hara. He might only be transgressing this if he's the one who's listening. And maybe he has nobody else to go and tell it over to. If there's other people that are listening at the same time that he is, maybe he's not even transgressing at all. He only transgresses the other ones, meaning, if I am going to listen to the words of lashon hara from somebody else, it's quite possible, says the CHOFETZ CHAIM, you're not transgressing lifnei iver lo titei michshel. What stumbling block did I put down? Because I listened? He's the one who put the stumbling block over there. I'm only transgressing the other prohibition that we spoke about the last few days. All of this is talking about if he came after the guy started talking. However, if the guy started talking already, and then other people come along and they start listening, so if you're talking to one person, so you're already telling over the words of lashon hara, says the CHOFETZ CHAIM. It sounds like he's saying over here that anybody that comes along afterwards, so you just keep laying out the stumbling blocks that are there, and the person who's listening, he himself is also going to receive more of the punishments of the lavin, of the negative commandments that we were speaking about. Nevertheless, be very careful to stay away from groups of people like this that are talking lashon hara. Do not sit with them. Because above, meaning in Shemayim, in what do they call this group of people that sit around and talk lashon hara? They're a group of Rishayim, of wicked people. Rabbi Eliezer had a son named Horowitz, and he left over at Savah, he left over a last will and testament. And he said like this, V'zel Shoinai, Bini, my child, my son, Al Teishe Bechaburais Ha'irim Genai Mechavrehem. Do not sit amongst those people, those groups that sit around and they talk badly about their friends. Kishadvam Oilim Lamala V'Sefer Nichtav. All their words of Lashon Hara go up to heaven, and they're written down in a book. V'Chol Ha'oimdim Sham, and anyone that's standing there, Nichtavin B'Shem Chaburas Resha. They are written in and called part of the Chaburas Resha, the wicked group of people that are speaking Lashon Hara. So once again, says the CHOFETZ Chaim, there's more prohibitions. A person who opens their mouth and says the wrong thing, a person whose ears are bent to hear the wrong thing, they're just transgressing one prohibition after the other, and a person will find out from saying one word of Lashon Hara, one statement, one conversation, they transgress so many different things at once. Rahmana litzlan, how careful we must be to guard our tongues. Have a wonderful day.